Ride along live, worldwide. Feel the beat, feel the vibe. Amazing host leading the ride. Power to the people, we shine. Giving fans what they need. Caribbean spirit, let's succeed. Every show with a good deed. Together we plant the seed. Ride along, join the dance, let's sing the song. From island to island strong, with the host we belong. Energy high, heart so bright. Tune in, feel the light. Global love taking flight. Every ride a sheer delight. Making waves across the seas. Love and joy in the breeze. Ride along live if you please. Bringing hope with such ease. Ride along, join the dance, let's sing the song. From island to island strong, with the host we belong. Energy high, heart so bright. Tune in, feel the light. Global love taking flight. Every ride a sheer delight. Making waves across the seas. Love and joy in the breeze. Ride along live if you.
Calling the CARICOM community, assembling Global Africa, the 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum. Active 2025 is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, Resilience and Transformation. Enhancing Africa-Caribbean economic cooperation in an era of global uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
I want $10 on Playway, $20 backup on Pick 3, and cash for each, please.
Okay, are you adding multi-X to your bet?
Yes, multi-X, all of them.
Smart! Best value bet. Backup and multi-X, you cannot go wrong.
Don't matter the bet, multi-X all of the daily games.
With multi-X added, your winnings can be multiplied 3 times, 5 times, even 7 times. So make it a rule. Add multi-X to all your Playway, daily pick 3, and daily cash for bets every day and for every drop, and watch your money grow. Available at stores and online.
You heard it here. Multiply your winnings daily. Must be 18 or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Right along live, welcome to the ride. Welcome to the ride. Yes. What a beautiful day, guys. Happy to be here. Again, we had to push back the show just a tidbit because I want everyone to really pay attention to this conversation here today. I want no obstruction. In fact, put your phone on Do Not Disturb, please. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Call that person who's calling you or usually call you around this time and say, listen, I can't talk right now. Right along is on, and you got to respect that. Yeah, you got to respect that, man. Right along is on. Cassandra, how you doing? Lydia, Louisan. Here's what I want you guys to do for me, please. Right? I'm going to do it as well. I want you to click the share button. Like, click that share button right now. Right? I'm doing it too. Share. And not only share, I want you to add followers and put this in a group. Put this in a group and share it far and wide. It's important. Sherwin B. Harry, how are you? Thank you so much. Nice. All right, guys. So, Lynette McQueen, how are you? You good? I'm doing all the background work because I don't want anybody to say that. There we go. All right. So, guys, today we're going to be speaking to Mr. Arthur Pierre, who is the supervisor of election here in Grenada. Now, in the past couple days and weeks, and months, we've been hearing a lot as it have to do with irregularities or reports of irregularities as it relates to the registration. We heard a few things as well. We heard that there are major increase in the numbers of new voters, an increase of a couple thousand, if my numbers are right. And there was report that some of these increase may be, how should I put it, not properly done because of inconsistencies. So we heard the opposition leader speaking about it. Now, it's always good to go to the source, because I personally, and I'm sure you as well, want to ensure that whenever there is an election call, that the election is free and fair. Whenever there is an election, the final result is actually the result that everyone, like the majority or the winner should be the majority, and no hanky-panky should be taking place in terms of the election. No matter which side you want a free and fair election. So we decided to make connection with Mr. Arthur Pierre. Now, this conversation was supposed to happen last week, and I thank Mr. Arthur Pierre because he could not facilitate the time last week, but he did promise, however, that he would make himself available this week, and he's a man of his word. I contacted Mr. Arthur Pierre today, and he gave me the thumbs up. Yes, we will speak today, and without further ado, I want to welcome on the platform for the very first time the man himself, the man of his word and time. He was here early. Before I got on, he was on. Mr. Arthur Pierre, how are you doing, sir?
Pretty good, thanks. Pretty good. Good evening, all viewers, listeners, persons who follow right along. It's good to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if it's a hot seat today, man, but I have a feeling that people would be listening to every word you're saying tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the role of Supervisor of Elections is always a hot seat.
Yeah.
All right. And the only thing that would equalize that pressure is the law.
Right.
I'm no lawyer by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly I would try my best to address whatever issues as it is addressed by the law.
Right. Okay. Before we go any further, could you give us a little background history on Mr. Arthur Pierre? Who is Mr. Arthur Pierre?
Okay. Well, from the time I started to work, I actually started to work as a teacher. So I taught for about 12 years. I was a drug officer, or some persons would call it drug avoidance. All right, so I moved over drug avoidance for a while. From there, I became the coordinator for HIV/AIDS response in the Ministry of Education. I worked at the Ministry of Health. I moved over to NADMA, right? For the Drug Control Secretariat, as an assistant drug control officer, I spent 8 years there. I moved over to NADMA just around the time of COVID, and I helped and assisted in managing the COVID response. I actually was in charge of a quarantine and isolation center. All right, so we did a lot of work during COVID. I was, until this year, I moved out of NADMA in March of this year. And even though I was appointed a supervisor of election on the 2nd of June of last year, I moved over full-time working here full time from March of this year. So I actually assisted in the burial response. It was a lot of work. I was the director of operations for burial, and it has been a lot of work. I've not gotten rest as yet, but nonetheless, work needs to be done. So I have offered myself as a public servant to just do what I have to do.
Okay, so a real statesman, and it's good that we have that background information. So we could talk about integrity and process. So let's start there. The election process and integrity. Can you explain the steps that is taken to ensure that the integrity and the fairness of this election process, the integrity of the election process in Grenada?
Well, for any elections, the law basically would guide every step of the election process. Okay, so the law outlines from the time that, let's say, the Prime Minister announced the date, the writ is done by the Governor General. All of that is outlined by law. So there is no ambiguity when it comes to the process that must be done. Okay, registration is clearly outlined in the law. Okay, so there is no way somebody can come in the office, and do whatever, okay, to create any issues that would bring the office into disrepute. Okay,
Right.
there have been attempts. Okay, and well. Based on records, and I wouldn't go into that. I really and truly wouldn't go into that. All right, but let me tell you that the Supervisor of Election is guided by law, and the operations of all the electoral offices within the constituencies are guided by law. Okay, and for as far as I am concerned, all right, and I'm saying this unapologetically, as far as I am concerned, that is what I will follow, regardless of anything.
Okay, I am stunned by the fact that you said that there were attempts. So it kind of makes me want to find out by who is trying to circumvent the free and fairness of our election. Was it political party, individual? You don't have to give a specific name, but you did say there were attempts, which I mean.
Well, yeah, they have been some things that the persons, maybe before me, should not have done, and it was carried to court. It was aerated by the courts and so. All right. So I would leave that where it is for now. Okay. I don't want to get into that, but I'm just saying that due process was followed to ensure that things were done according to law.
Right. So again, we're going to move on.
Yeah.
But you're saying, just for the record, there were attempts in the past to circumvented that were run contrary to how the process should be done in the past.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, cool. I'm gonna dig deeper into that, but we're gonna move on. What about the voters list, right? How is the list verified and updated to ensure accuracy before the election?
Right. Now we produce the voters list. Okay. So persons would go into the constituencies, into the electoral offices in the constituencies, and they would apply to be registered. Okay, that is a process in itself. I would read the law in a while. So they go, they present whatever documents to ascertain the identity and the fact that they are resident in the constituency that they say that they are registering. All right. Now you have registration officers out there. You have assistant registration officers. Okay. We have a voter registration system. All right, computerized system. So they would go there. All right, they would fill up the forms and everything, fill out, and it is registered here at the main office, okay, what I would do is go through every application, verifying the person's name, their date of birth, where they are, getting some basic demographic information on the individual. All right. If the documentation satisfies the requirements by law, then you would register that person. Okay. Then that person becomes an eligible elector, and the name is placed on the electoral list. Now, we do have some drawbacks. Okay, we do have some drawbacks. There are persons who might have died, and their names are still on the list, and you would always find that. So, for example, I register somebody today, and this afternoon or tonight or tomorrow they died, they still would be on the list, if you understand what I'm saying. So what we eventually would do is we work in connection with births and deaths, and they would send over a list of names of persons that would have died within that year.
Right.
What we do, we look at the list and we send those names according to constituencies out to electoral offices out there, and we try now to get those names removed from the list. Okay, it is a process. It is a process, and we attempt to do that every 3 months. So every 3 months, we produce an addendum to the list. We produce something that says, okay, these are the new registrants, these are the new persons that have replaced the cards. So we post that up. Now, when we post that addendum up, anybody, including new parties, etc., persons that are interested, can go through that list. And I think, if my memory serves me right, you have about 7 working days in which to raise objections. So let's say, for example, I'm living in the States for about 10 years.
Right.
Okay. I have been registered since I was a teenager. My parents would have brought me over there for about 10 years. I don't know nothing much about Grenada since after I was 10. Okay. It means, well, of course, I have not registered. So it means that my name did not appear on the list. I come back for a funeral or so, and I want to get registered. That might be a problem simply because the law says that you must be here for an entire year to be registered. And I'll read that law for you now.
How do you track that someone being here consistently for a whole year?
Right. No, that's another thing. Now, again, what we endeavor to do is to have immigration. They know, all right. So we have to be able to cross-check with immigration when this person came in, etc., etc. So we are able to ascertain. All right. Now, whether that is done consistently is another story. Okay, but I would read exactly what it says. All right, and basically that is what I intend to follow. All right.
Right. So let me ask you this question, Mr. Pierre. How long were you in that position as Supervisor of Election?
How long?
Yeah, how long?
From June 2nd of 2024. So it is June 2nd, was just about a year.
Okay, from since you arrived at that position and to now, so your tenure, ongoing tenure, have you seen any violation thus far to the registration list?
No. I have not seen any violations whatsoever. All right. Let me tell you, we painstakingly take care to ensure that whoever enters that list is actually an eligible voter. All right, and they have the right to be on that list.
Right.
All right. They applying or trying to be registered is something that we don't certainly I don't make bones about. All right. And I am the one who really and truly at the end of the day does the registration of individuals.
So do do you assess the list, or did you assess the list prior to you arriving at that office to see if there were irregularities before that need to be fixed or omitted or
No, no,
changed?
I did not. I did not assess the list. We have a whole department that would do that through the voter registration system. They are the ones that would go through the list, assist in removing names if there are objections and the objections are upheld and persons have to be removed. They are the ones that will be doing that.
Okay. Interesting. All right, so let's go back. I wanted to just branch off to that, but I want to go back to the central point of registration. So here we have a large amount of Grenadians that's living in the diaspora that want to come home to participate in the process, right, to vote. How could someone living in the United States, what do they need to do at this point in time if they wanted to register to vote?
Okay, let me read the part of the law that deals with the registration of electors. All right, just
Yeah.
permit me, please.
Yeah.
And this is taken from Representation of the People's Act, Chapter 268A, all right, Part 3, and this is Act 35 of 1993. It's a mouthful, okay? So Part 3 says, the right of a person to vote. Subject to this act, a person is entitled to vote in an election in a constituency if on polling day he is qualified and registered as an elector in that constituency and his name appears on the current list to be used for that constituency. Okay. Section Part 6 says entitlement to registration. Subject to Section 7, a person shall be entitled to be registered as an elector in any constituency if he, 1, is a citizen of Grenada, 2, B, A, citizen of Grenada, B, a Commonwealth citizen who resides in Grenada for a period of at least 12 months immediately before the date of his registration. Now, I want us to pay very close attention to that B part of that statement. All right, who resides in Grenada for a period of at least 12 months immediately before the date of his registration. C, has attained the age of 18 years, and D, is ordinarily resident in that constituency. Ordinarily resident in that constituency, all right? For the purpose of registration under this act, that's 2, and the rules, a person is deemed subject to this act to reside in the polling division, which he is ordinarily resident immediately prior to his registration. So he must be living in the constituency prior, before, and based on what is said here, a year before you are going to be registered. 3, a person is not ordinarily resident in that polling division if he has taken up residence in that polling division for the purpose of engaging in any employment or temporary or seasonal character. So if somebody just coming and working in that particular constituency just for a period, he cannot be registered in that constituency. Okay. For the purpose of registration under this act and rules, a person may be ordinarily resident only in one polling division at any particular time. All right, so that is basically that's what the law has outlined. Hello?
Right. Yeah. No, I'm seeing, and I'm hearing, and I wanted to ask on that as well. But someone else saw it, and they want you to check and see if that is a correct, if a correction needs to be made. When you mention about CARICOM Nation, the question here is, Junior, correct that man. He made a mistake. We are citizens of
Citizens
Grenada,
and not Commonwealth
Commonwealth
citizens. Okay.
citizens. Yeah.
Right. So let me go back to the law.
Yeah.
Right. Is a citizen of Grenada or is a Commonwealth citizen? All right. So let me look now at the disqualification.
Right.
Because it is subject to Section 7, disqualification of electors. Let us read the disqualification of electors.
Yeah.
All right. A person shall be entitled to be registered as an elector in any constituency who, A, has been sentenced in court and so forth. I wouldn't go through that. B, a person is adjudged to be on sound mind, has been detained as a criminal lunatic under any law, enforcement, etc. I wouldn't talk about is disqualified for registration as an elector by any law enforced in the state relating to the offences connected with that. All right. It doesn't. Let me just further down. Request to be registered. Request to be registered. For the purpose of this section, and that section, that's number 9. For the purpose of this section, registration shall be effected in accordance with the provision of this Act. Rules are provided in Part 3 of the first schedule. Okay. Let me just read Part 3. A person makes requests to be registered under subsection 2 shall present to the registration officer at the time of the request either of the following documents: his birth certificate, his valid passport, or his citizenship certificate. Okay. Okay.
Right.
This doesn't speak directly to it, so let me go to the right to remain registered. I think this is where we're talking about being citizens and not being citizens of Guinea. So I'll read it.
Right. Citizens
Okay.
are not Commonwealth citizens.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Subject to Section 7, the person registered as an elector pursuant to this part shall remain registered unless and until his name is deleted from the current list by the Supervisor of Elections, where the Supervisor of Elections determines that since the publication of the current list, the person has A, died, B, left Grenada and has not been ordinarily resident in that constituency for a period exceeding 12 months, not being a citizen of Grenada. Okay, let me just repeat that. Left Grenada and has not been ordinarily resident in that constituency for a period exceeding 12 months, not being a citizen of Grenada. So we're talking about Commonwealth citizens and so forth. Cease to be ordinarily resident in Grenada for a period exceeding 5 years, being a citizen of Grenada. Okay, become ordinarily resident in another constituency. Had an objection to his registration allowed, or otherwise cease to be qualified by the virtue of this act or any other law. Right, that's what the law says. So let's say I go out of state for 5 years consistently. Right. The supervisor then can take my name. If you're out, you're living abroad, but you are returning on a regular basis, right? We still have that right to keep you registered.
So are you saying if someone travel, and that just for clarification, if someone travels Grenadian, they born in Grenada and they went out of Grenada for a period of 5 years or so and decided that they wanted to be registered or registered to vote, is it that then they would lose their birthright to register? I mean, to vote, because they haven't lived in.
Because you are out consistently for 5 years, you have not visited. You basically have taken up residence elsewhere. Basically, what we're saying is that you are no longer. Well, we can't say you're no longer a citizen, but you are no longer attached, for the want of a better word, to what's happening here. All right. So after 5 years, the name would be removed. Now, if you want to get re-registered or you want to get registered, it means that you would have to remain here for a period of time.
Is this consistent with the general vote way how the election office work? Because even in the United States, and we're not saying that it should add up or look like or replicate the United States law in terms of voting, but if you are a Grenadian or if you're American, whether you outside of America or whether even in the military or you might be absent for the day of voting or whatever, you could You could
Now, according to based from what in my own humble understanding, if you are a citizen of the United States, they facilitate that voting process across borders. Am I correct?
yeah, they do facilitate. They're
Yeah.
absentee ballots. They're absentee
Now,
ballots.
the truth is
So
that
you have to
we
say
have,
that a Grenadian would lose their birthright to vote if they're absent from the constituency or the country for a X amount of period of time, and that's what's
yeah.
sticking in a lot of people's craw.
Yes, I know. Until the law is changed, that is what pertains. I didn't write the law, right? But that is what the law says. Okay,
Okay.
it might be unfortunate. I mean, and this is just my opinion. This is not the opinion of the supervisor of election. Okay,
Okay.
this is this is my opinion. It might be unfortunate, but that is what the law says. The thing is, the loophole there is that if you are consistently visiting, right? There are persons who they have lived abroad for 10 years, but almost every year they come back, right? And they come back at the same address. They come back at the same address that they were born. Okay, so when we see that, it means that there is no objection in getting those persons registered.
Okay. Let's go to the phone lines. We got calls coming in fast and furious. Let's take this call right now. Caller, you live. Where you calling us from? Hello. Hello. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I could. It's on my end. Caller, you live? Are you there? All right. The person hung up. 718-701 is my number. If you want to call on the direct phone line, you could do so. 718-701-5720. Let's go to the phone lines right now. Caller, you live on the WhatsApp.
I'm here, Junior.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, I'm calling and let me say good evening to Mr. Pierre.
Yes,
Good evening.
he could hear you, Kem, but
Right.
but you cannot hear him because I'm using the phone line to take the call.
Okay,
So just go ahead.
no problem.
Yeah.
No problem. I think Mr. Pierre needs to get a lawyer to speak to this matter because he's confusing the nation. Because what he just read is even more confusing, I think, to most people because he's mixing up this whole thing. Under the law that he speaks, or he spoke of a while ago, it says in Article 1, subsection 6, subject to Section 7, a person shall be entitled to be registered as an elector in any one constituency if he, A, is a citizen of Grenada. And then it went on to say, or. I think he's missing the or. Or is a Commonwealth citizen who has resided in Grenada for a period of at least 12 months immediately before the date of his registration. And then it went on to say, C has attained the age of 18. D is ordinarily resident in that constituency, meaning that is where the person is from, that is where the person lives, that is where the person is from. So a person who comes to Grenada 3 times, 4 times a year, Mr. P is actually saying on this program that the Commonwealth citizen is who they're looking for to be registered and not a citizen of Grenada. He's confusing this entire thing. I think he needs to get a person who is legally minded to speak to this matter. What he just did is to say to all Grenadian brothers and sisters, born and bred Grenadians, that they must first be a Commonwealth citizen and not a citizen of Grenada to get registered. It is dangerous and it's not precedent. Because if he's interpreting the law wrong, sorry, I have a he needs to be removed from this position and I make no bones about it. We need to call for his resignation. He needs to be removed from this position. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll give you an opportunity to respond. Thank you, caller. Yes. So is it that you are the law sees it as a Commonwealth citizen first?
No. Is not because of a Commonwealth citizens, they have their thing. Okay? All right. Let me just go back to this here again. Right? We talked about the right to remain registered. If the person died, of course, you get them off. All right. Left Grenada, and that would be this party. Left Grenada has not been ordinary resident in Grenada in that constituency for a period exceeding 12 months, not being a citizen of Grenada. So this here talks about the Commonwealth citizens and any other citizens of Grenada, not somebody that was born in Grenada. Cease to be ordinarily resident in Grenada, and that is for the citizens of Grenada. Cease to be ordinary resident in Grenada for a period exceeding 5 years, being a citizen of Grenada. Okay? So the law speaks to the Commonwealth citizens, and it speaks to the person who is a citizen, who is born and bred in Grenada.
But what about part 1 and that or right between?
Right. So we talk about part 1. Right. Let me just go back up to it. Hold a second. Right. So part 1. Subject to section 7, a person shall be entitled to be registered as an elector in one constituency if A is a citizen of Grenada, full stop.
Right, full stop.
Right. Or is a Commonwealth citizen. We talk about all of that already.
Right. So what I'm saying is,
so if you are a citizen of Grenada,
right.
Now, a lot of times, in many cases, persons don't necessarily want to even touch this because this is such a delicate and intricate matter. All right, that I have had conversations with other supervisors of election, and they really and truly don't necessarily want to touch it. Okay, simply because whenever you talk about somebody being citizen, they're out of state. All right, for a period of time, what the law basically says that you can be removed from the list. Whether that happens is another story.
Right.
Okay? But that is what the law says.
Yeah, I understand now, and I understand it even more as you explained it. But I want to look at that part 1 and that or. So you are saying part 1, a citizen of Grenada, primary,
yes.
Right?
You are entitled to be registered.
Period.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
A citizen of Grenada.
Yeah.
Right? And a citizen of Grenada is someone that was born in Grenada. You have a birth certificate. You were born.
You have a citizenship certificate.
Or you have a citizenship.
Right.
Okay. So we go even deeper. So a CBI, someone in the IMA could also vote as well. They're citizen based on.
Now there is we cannot, according to our constitution, we cannot discriminate against citizens.
A citizen. Okay, right. So perfect. We are on target. So that citizen of Grenada, period, should mean any citizen of Grenada, any person born or have a citizenship certificate of Grenada, period, could vote.
Right.
Period.
But again, remember our office and the electoral list. All right. We go through a period of 5 years of elections and so forth. Okay. If you are not there within that 5-year period, what we do is that we purge the list, and the law gives us the right to remove persons from the list. You understand what I'm saying? So if you have to get registered, you must be in Grenada to be registered. You can't get registered online. Okay? You must be present to be registered. The process requires you to be here to be registered. And the law clearly states how that process would work.
Right. I am still battling with part 1 and that or and Commonwealth.
Right.
Well,
go ahead.
No, have this been brought to in front of a judge as a decision? Anybody ever fought this in court?
As it relates to what?
As it relates to the registration process and the part 1, and where it says a Grenadian citizen and it details the Commonwealth or what else you need as a Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth is dealt with separately.
Right.
We deal with the Commonwealth person separately. They have to fill out a form saying how long they were in Grenada, etc. A Commonwealth oath of the Commonwealth. All right, so that is dealt with separately. Okay, that is dealt with separately. But as citizens, you have the right to be registered. Okay, but if you are out for a period of time, not a Commonwealth citizen, but if you are out for a period of time, what we do is we remove the names from the list. And let me tell you, there have been objections. Persons are not living in the constituency, their names are there, they might be living abroad. For how long they are living is to be determined. All right. But the truth is that based on what the law says, they have to be removed from the list.
All right, let's take this call. We got a caller on the phone line. Caller, you're live. Where are you calling us from? Call on the phone line. The WhatsApp, I'll come to you in a short while.
Maryland.
Yeah.
Maryland.
Maryland, go right ahead.
I am very confused about this because the residency thing, if you come to Grenada once a year, but you stay at different relatives' places, say I stay in St. Paul's or I stay in St. Mark's or I stay in St. David's, what's with that? If they purge a list and they have one registration address and I move or I visited somebody else, how is that considered? Because that's not clear here at all.
Okay. And I appreciate that question. Now, let's say that you were living in St. John. Okay, so that is your constituency. Okay, when you visited, you are registered in St. John's. Okay, when you return, you are staying in St. George's. If you want to vote, you must vote in St. John's, in the constituency that you are registered in. If you want to change constituency, when you come into Ireland and you want to change, you would have to make that request to have a change of address or change of residency, so that your name would not appear in St. John's, but it would appear in St. George's.
But that puts a restriction on someone based on residency, and that is a problem, because if there is a restriction on movement. If I'm registered in St. George's and I stay in St. David's and the election occurs and I'd like to vote, I'd have to go and correct my information to be on the list.
Yes, because the list for every constituency is different. The list for every constituency.
But that's a problem because people are fluid and people will stay in certain cases in a hotel. And you don't necessarily want to not participate in citizen activities on island. An election is coming, you'd like to vote. That restriction is a problem.
But the truth is that where you are registered, that is where you are entitled to vote. That is what the law says.
To vote.
Where you are registered, if you are registered,
is that? Could you please clarify that for me?
Repeat that.
Okay, I'm staying in St. Paul's, but the elections are here. I'd like to vote. I have to go to St. George's or wherever I was registered to vote. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. That's what has to happen. Because so your name on the list,
but your list clears me out. What happens then?
Right. So on the list, you have polling divisions. Okay. And these polling divisions are numbered and are specified according to the various constituencies. Okay. So if you are in polling division 1, and that polling division, let's say, is in St. George's, is in the North St. George constituency, and you are registered there, that is where you go to vote. Okay? You can't, yes, you might be staying in a hotel, you might be staying in Sotels or wherever, but wherever you are registered, right, the polling station or the polling division that you are registered to vote in, All right, in that specific constituency, that is where you vote. You can't go and just vote anywhere else.
Okay, it just seems restrictive. It seems restrictive, and it seems to conflict with the fact that you're a citizen.
Right. Okay.
Well, that is the law. That's basically just what the law says.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, caller, for your input. We have another caller on the WhatsApp. Let's take that call right now. Caller on the WhatsApp, go right ahead.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, caller, go right ahead.
I don't think I can hear Supervisor Pear, but he can hear me, correct?
Yeah, he could hear you.
Okay. I just want to speak to something that he said in regards to the citizenship. One, I remind Arthur Pear that his allegiance and commitment is to the Constitution of Grenada. That is the authority or the book upon which he gets power over the registration process and the electoral process, not the law. I am hearing continued emphasis and reference to the law. But as Mr. Penn knows, that laws must be consistent with our Constitution. And the Constitution establishes his office. So as a citizen, I would love to hear him speak reference and make reference to the Constitution upon which our democracy is founded. I want to address the issue of the residency. I'm listening to Mr. Pear speak to Grenadian citizenship and Commonwealth citizenship as two separate citizenships in accordance with the law. I remind him that Section 32, subsection 2A of the Constitution says every Commonwealth citizen who has attained the prescribed age, and that is 18 as we know it, and who possesses each of such qualifications relating to residence or domicile in Grenada as Parliament may prescribe. And in our case, Parliament has prescribed residency for Commonwealth citizens. So I hear the reference to Grenadian citizenship, but nowhere in our Constitution does it give Parliament the authority to make laws relating to citizenship. So you qualify to vote on the basis that you are, Grenada is a member of the Commonwealth. And this is something that we have raised for years in regards to that amendment to the Representation of the People's Act in Grenada. There are not two different citizenship. And let me give an example. In the Belizean Constitution, which is also a member of the Commonwealth, they make reference to two types of citizenship when they speak to their election and registration processes. So when you read the Constitution, you will see a Commonwealth citizen who meets the specified prerequisites can vote in Belize, and a Belizean citizen. The same is not true for our Constitution, which is where, again, our democracy is founded and where Mr. Pear, as supervisor, gets his authority. So we don't need an attorney to come and interpret anything for the supervisor. We remind him, Mr. Pear, that our Constitution gives you independence as Supervisor of Elections. And while, yes, that does not bar you from seeking advice, I think we are setting a dangerous precedent when citizens are calling in and making or giving advice that an attorney should come and tell us what the residency requirement is. It's there in the Constitution, and Mr. Pear, we have had this discussion several times. So I understand that you are reading from the law, but you very well know that while Parliament can make laws to the extent of its inconsistencies to the Constitution are null and void. So we have to be very, very, very careful when we come to the public and we make these pronouncements and misguide the public. Because I'm seeing the comments and I understand the concerns coming from citizenships in regard to the utterances being made by the supervisor. I want to publicly make a call, Mr. Arthur Pear. You have now considered it expedient and necessary to make certain adjustments within your office, but we are yet to get a report, Mr. Pear, from you. The Constitution directs you that whenever you consider it necessary and expedient to lay and present to the minister a report, which after 7 days after you giving the minister is supposed to be brought and discussed in the People's Parliament. So it would be nice again, Mr. Arthur Perry, we are calling on you publicly now to present to the minister, the relevant minister, a report which before any substantive changes be done to your office before the People's Parliament.
Okay.
But he's right, Commonwealth citizen. There is no requirement for Parliament to make amendments to citizenship as regards to the voting process.
Okay.
So you vote on the basis by the fact that Grenada is a member of the Commonwealth.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, caller, for your information. Any response or addition that you want to put to the caller, Mr. Pierre?
Just to say that I do work in tandem with the Grenada Constitution, okay? Even though I quote the law, but the law speaks directly and specifically to certain things. The Constitution gives almost a general overview of the law, of the issues directing the Supervisor of Elections and elections per se, all right? So yeah, that's as much as I would say. As it relates to a report to Parliament, the Constitution gives me the right to determine when that shall happen. Okay, when that shall happen, and I have indicated that a report will be given, right, in due course.
Okay. All right. We have another caller on the phone line. Let's see if we could bring that caller in right now, giving everyone an opportunity to ventilate on this topic. Caller on the phone line, go right ahead.
Hi, Junior. Good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah. Hi. How are you?
Good, thanks. I have a question. I am a born Grenadian. I left Grenada at a young age. I have not been back to Grenada in, I'm not going to say how many years, but it's over 30 years. If I decided at the next election I would want to, get registered and vote, would that be a problem since I have not been in Grenada for over 30, 40 years?
First and foremost, from the indication that what you're telling me, it seems that your name is not on the list. All right, because you have been away for 30 years and so. All right, if you were to return to Grenada, all right, you will have to, one, show proof of address. Okay. Give all the documentation, your birth certificate, your parents' birth certificate, if you were born outside of Grenada, but you have indicated that you were born in Grenada, all right? And you would have had to be resident here for a period of time.
Even if I have not been to Grenada for over 40 years?
Even if you have not been to Grenada for 30 years.
I could still come back, show all the proof. And
yes, but you will have to be resident. That means that you would have to have stayed in Grenada for a period of time before you are being registered, well, before you can be registered as a qualified elector.
Even if I'm a born Grenadian?
Even if you're a born Grenadian. The truth is that you have spent most of your time outside of Grenada.
But I'm still a born Grenadian and my birth certificate have not changed.
Right.
So you are going to deny me registration even if I'm not born Grenadian.
Right. So it's not Austria that is denying you. All right? It's what the law of Grenada says.
Okay.
All
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, caller. Thank you. We have another caller on the WhatsApp. Let's take that call. Caller on the WhatsApp, go right ahead.
Yeah, good night, Junior.
Turn your background down a bit.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, good night, Junior. Good night, Mr. Pierre. I'm really confused. Now, I'm a Grenadian. I need an ID card. There is only 2 ID cards, NIS and the voter's ID. We don't have a national ID card.
Right, we don't have a national ID card.
Telling me that I cannot have a voter's ID at all,
Right.
even though I'm a Grenadian.
Right. I'm not saying that you cannot have an ID at all.
Okay, hold on one second.
voter's ID.
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Perry. She cannot hear you. So, caller, I want you to make your statement, and you have to listen to his response on the live because I'm doing that call through your WhatsApp. So
Yes.
you could listen to his response back on the live, okay?
Yes, no problem.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, so you were saying in response to her question, Mr. Pierce, sorry about that.
Right. I am not saying that you cannot have a voter's registration card. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying to you is that if you were out for a period of time longer than 5 years, what can happen is that your name can be removed. But if you have been registered already, okay, right, and you are visiting the country on a regular basis, it means that you are entitled. But if for a particular time, it can be, we're not saying that it might be removed forever, all right? But if you come back and you decide to take up residence and so forth here, of course, your name, you can go forward and be registered. Right? But for now, if you are out for more than 5 years, all we are saying is that your name can be removed off the list if you were registered before. So nobody is barring you from registration. It's just that the law, basically how the law is set up, may prevent you from being registered based on the time that you would have spent out of India.
Okay, we have another caller on the WhatsApp. Let's take that call right now. Caller, live. Where are you calling us from?
Thank you, Junior. Grenada, I'm calling back again.
Right.
Thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Arthur Pierre, I heard your response to the concerns that I raised. I again want to divert you or refer you to the Constitution upon which you get your authority and establish your office. Section 35(5). The Supervisor of Elections may, whenever he considers it necessary or expedient so to do, report to the House of Representatives on the exercise of his functions under the foregoing provisions of this section. He shall submit every such report to the Minister for the time being responsible for matters relating to the election of members of the House. Mr. Pay, we have vote 8 in the estimates of revenue and expenditure. The last 2 or so years, you are very cognizant that under that vote for the Supervisor of Elections office, there are significant allocations coming from the pockets of taxpayers for significant and substantive changes to your office. I am asking you publicly, Mr. Arthur Pierre, do you not consider it expedient or necessary to report to the Grenadian people what you intend to do with these significant allocations that we are bearing the burden for?
Okay, let me put that question. Let me put that question to him and let him respond. And so we could get clarity to that particular question. So listen to his response on the live because you won't be able to hear him. Yes, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, I have indicated time and time again that I will write the report. The report will be forthcoming, right? But apparently they want to determine when I write it. All right. In fact, they gave me a deadline to write it on the 29th of, I think it was May or something like this sort. Come on. There are some things that are happening And the country will know about it in due course. So it's not to say that I would not report and I would not write. Ask whether or not the past supervisors of election reported.
When you say they,
I have
when you say they ask for it, I want to get clarity. Who's they?
the young lady that just called.
Okay.
She is part of an organization.
Okay.
Okay, and I have met with them. I did promise that when I am ready and in due course, they will receive and hear about the report that will be placed in Parliament. All right.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go back to the phone line. Caller live, where are you calling us from? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, hi, caller. Go right ahead. You state your name or where you're calling us from and your question.
My name.
Now, listen to me on the phone line. Turn your TV off or down the volume. Just have a phone conversation with me.
Okay, just a second.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Davidson Ned,
Uh-huh.
and I have been part of an organization that has been meeting. We have had meetings since 2013. We have had engagements with the Supervisor of Elections on various issues. We have had two meetings with this new Supervisor of Elections, one in May of 2025 and one in June of 2025. Previously, the Supervisor of Elections, Mr. Elvis Morin, who was removed in June of 2023, we had several meetings with him at which we raised concerns with regards to issues surrounding the registration process and the law amendments that were made in 2018 to the Representation of the People's Act. We raised issues surrounding a report that is outstanding from the OAS Observer Missions for the 2022 elections. We raised issues with regards to a website, a gov.gd website, that was advertising to register people online. And that was outside of the operations of the electoral office, of which the supervisor has sole authority. Those issues remain unaddressed by the past two supervisors. And Mr. Pierre, after 9 months, well, it's almost a year now in office, at our first meeting, he indicated that he was not aware of those concerns. Now, I thought that that was alarming for a new supervisor who went into office because all of those concerns are documented before the supervisor. They are documented before the supervisor. We have raised those issues publicly in the public domain. We have gone on radio programs, on TV programs, and we have documented those concerns. Mr. Pierre persists in going along, not observing the normal courtesies for the people in a process that involves the people.
Caller, just kind of wrap it up. We understand that, but we have other things to get to. So state your point and your direct question and let Mr. Pierre respond.
My comment this evening is that Mr. Pierre's office is an independent office. He is subject to the control of no person or authority. He is solely responsible. His office is guided by the Constitution of Grenada, and it is his sole authority to protect the provisions of the Constitution that says a Commonwealth citizen is entitled to vote if the Commonwealth citizen qualifies. You must qualify. And there are two rationales for your qualification. One, you must either be resident, or two, you are domicile. In our context, the Parliament has passed laws with respect to Commonwealth citizens that you must be you must live in the constituency, you must reside in your constituency for 12 months before you can register. And I want to reiterate that there are two processes. There is a registration process and there is a voting process. For you to get on the list, you must live in a constituency, be resident in a constituency for 12 months as a Commonwealth citizen. It does not give the Parliament the authority to make any laws. And that is what happened, and that is where all the confusion comes about. Because there is a law that says a Grenadian citizen can vote. The amendments were done in 2018. Those amendments are, in fact, unconstitutional, can be challenged, and will be challenged.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, caller. Mr. Pierre.
Well, I don't know how to comment on that one. So I wouldn't really make any comments on what Mr. Ned said.
Okay. Even the fact that he said that he met and he saw various objections.
Yes, what I would say is that when I came into the office, right, I did just go and grab the file that they have concerning the civil society organizations. Okay, there were a lot of other things that needed to be done and needed to be done urgently, and that is what I addressed when we met in May. They were telling me some things that I was not aware of. Right, I subsequently went back, but we still had issues dealing with. So I subsequently went back. I still have the file in my desk, and I'm still going through some of the issues that they have raised, and they will be addressed as it relates to the allegations of website or so that are registering persons outside of what we do here in Grenada. I have to get back to them to give me some further information. I have contacted the ICT department to begin the investigations to find out exactly what's happening.
So was that factual? Is that factual that they were in fact a website that was?
I don't. I really to be honest, Junior, I really don't.
But that was brought to your attention. It was brought to your attention.
Yes, it was brought to my attention. I just needed to get something in writing to get some names and so forth. So I will be contacting them. I actually had to contact them during the course of this week. So I will be contacting them, and that will be the civil society organization, contacting them so that they could give me some further information so that we could proceed with an investigation.
Interesting. Let's go back to the phone line. Caller, where are you calling us from? Call on the WhatsApp.
Hello?
Yes, hi. Call on the WhatsApp. Go right ahead.
Yes.
Sorry, call on the phone line. Go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, caller, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, good. So, I just been listening to the program here, but I want to put in my 2 cents. Because there's a lady that called a few calls prior, and she asked Mr. Pierre a question. And the question was whether or not she'd been away for, I think it's 30 years, she said, away from Grenada. And she came back home. She wanted to know if she came back home, whether or not she'll be able to vote. And Mr. Pierce said that she has to live in Grenada for a certain amount of time. The woman said she was a born Grenadian, right? Mr. Pierce said that she'll have to live in Grenada for a certain amount of time before she can register, I believe is what he said. Well, I've been through that exact same situation. myself, as a born Grenadian, I've been away for 30 years myself. I just went back Grenada this year, early this year, and get registered. And I'm sorry, my passport was expired, so I had to, and my birth certificate was lost, so I had to get those together. But once I did, I went to Grenada, get my passport updated, get my birth certificate, and I was able to go and get registered. So I don't know who's telling the truth from who's not. I mean, does what Mr. Pierce said to that lady is that true, or or did the person that registered me, they did something wrong? Which one is it? So that's my 2 cents. I'd like to hear what Mr. Pierre has to say about that.
Yes, thank you, caller. Yeah? Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
Well,
Pierre.
of course, if somebody comes with the birth certificate and the passport and so, registration officer seeing that, if they did not ask the question, how long have you been in Grenada? They would go forward and register you. When the application comes to me, okay, they would have done their first stage of verification and so forth. So when it comes to me to write off on giving somebody the ID card, all I'm seeing is the documentation in front of me. What we have asked our registration officers to do is to make sure that they verify how long the person has been abroad, verify how often they return to Grenada, etc., etc. If they are citizens of any other country, etc. All of those things are questions that they have to ask. So of course, you may get sometimes some issues where persons get registered. That is why we have objections. So, for example, if there are names on the list that persons are not aware of, they will file objections, and we would have to do the investigation. And if needs be, we may have to remove persons from this.
It seems like what I'm hearing.
I'm just saying what the law
said. Right.
indicates.
Okay.
Yeah?
It seems like what I'm hearing is that there are a lot of inconsistencies, I should say, in terms of the registration process. Some people are been asked how long they've been out. Some people have not been asked. Some people was registered in either instances.
Yeah. So and we are endeavoring to rectify that. All right. The lists have been there a long time, and there have been consistencies from time immemorial. All right. So I am doing my very best. Okay. It may not be perfect. It may not necessarily be the things that people like to hear. Okay. But I am doing what I believe is necessary to ensure that we have a list that is fair. All right. That is clean. Okay. And that facilitates persons who are eligible to vote according to law.
Okay. Let's go back to the phone line right now on the WhatsApp. But let me first, before I go back to the phone line, I saw someone said, why am I declining the call? I'm declining the call because if someone is speaking, I'm not going to decline their call in the middle of what they're saying to accept your call. So if I'm declining your call, it's because you're calling at the same exact time that someone else is on the line. So that's what it is. Okay? So that's what happened. Caller on the WhatsApp, go right ahead.
Thank you, Junior. Yes, so I just wanted to clarify to the listening public that it was Mr. Arthur Pear in the meeting with us who indicated that he was going to provide a report 1 week after meeting with us. We followed up via email and through a subsequent phone call. Mr. Pear indicated to me that there were challenges and he was unsure of when he was going to send that report. Again, we stand firm that this report must be made, especially in light of the fact of the substantive allocation that we taxpayers have allocated under Vote 8 for his office. It is interesting, Junior, and maybe after I hang up, can you ask Mr. Pay to inform the public about the intent to procure a new voter registration system that may, as we seemingly don't have a price right now, cost the people of Grenada a significant amount of money. So I'm kind of baffled when I'm sitting here listening to Mr. Pay make utterances that are sort of misleading when he knows that in our engagements, different pronouncements were made and there were other people present. So I want again to call on Mr. Pear for a report. I think the tender was issued sometime this month. The taxpayers of Grenada are going to be bearing a significant cost for this new voter registration system. And I urge Mr. Pay to issue a report, not as you say, when you think it's ready, because it is, according to you and your staff, it has now been considered necessary to make changes within your office. And it is not me saying, I'm making reference again to what the Constitution says, Mr. Pay, that when the supervisor considers it necessary and expedient, it has now become necessary, and we agreed with you in the meeting that based on the feedback and the report that we had in that particular meeting in regard to the challenges with the voter registration system, that it may become necessary to procure a new one. Therefore, it is necessary to provide the people of Grenada who will be paying for this new voter registration system a report so that people understand what the challenges are. You'll see in the feedback from the general public in regards to the challenges they have with registration and residency and other issues that you know that the system has now presented. So why are you saying to us that when you think it's convenient that we're going to get a report? It's important for you to update the people of Grenada on these challenges and not just a small group of people who are now expected to come back to the public. And I want to emphasize, Junior, that the issues that we are raising transcends partisan politics. The electoral processes is the core of our democracy. And whenever we have discussions around this issue, we must make an attempt to take all the partisan and the colorism from the discussions.
Okay.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Pierre.
Mr. George.
Yes.
I give no further comment.
Okay.
On that, I think I have tried my best to address it. Okay, I did say that a report will be given. All right. Right now, we are in the process of we send out tenders and we are receiving tenders and so on, and in due course.
Okay.
All right, in due course.
In due course.
So I make no further comment on that matter.
Okay. All right. Caller on the WhatsApp, go right ahead. We're trying to make it fast, so just make your point quickly, and then so we could go through and get a few more calls on. Go ahead, caller, on the WhatsApp.
Thank you again for allowing me to come on. Now, Mr. Pierre, it's really hurting me. The people in the diaspora, right? When you do look at it, they are contributing so much to Grenada. Mm-hmm. Even more than some of us who are living in Grenada. And then you are telling me it will be very hard. It will be difficult for them to get a voter's ID. Come on, Mr. P. I'll stop this thing and do better for Grenada. Look what is going on around in the world. The same people, we don't know who that will be coming back to Grenada to stay. Come on. And stop this thing. Do something, man. Something needs to be done. You are confusing Grenadians in Grenada and in the diaspora. Please, we're begging, we're paying taxes, and we need something to be done. It's hurting us in Grenada and the diaspora. Thank you so much.
All right, caller. We're passionate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But your position, call on the WhatsApp standby. But your position is, Mr. Pierre, it's rooted in the law, in the document, in the Constitution, that's what it is. So if any changes have to be made, there have to be a political will to make those changes.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. All right. Let's take that caller on the WhatsApp right now. Caller, where are you calling us from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, New York. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I've been listening to you all, and I heard he was talking about if you came in there, they will have to ask you how long you've been living in Grenada. If I come and I produce my papers that I'm a born Grenadian, I don't think that there is no business of him to be asking me how long I've been living in Grenada because I produce them with a Grenada birth certificate and a Grenada passport. So I don't think there's no business of his to ask anybody how long they've been living in Grenada.
Okay.
Because I am living up here. I went down there, I registered, and I'm planning on coming down to vote. So I would like to know now if when I come down to vote, they will be asking me how long I'm coming that I cannot vote. I would like him to answer that question.
Okay, all right, caller. So listen to his response on the live, okay? Yeah. Yes.
Right. So what was the question? Sorry, I got distracted.
He wanted to he registered.
Right. So if he's registered, it means that he's on the list. So it means that he has if he's on the list, okay, he has an ID card that is valid, right? He has the ability to vote.
Okay. And I think where the confusion is
that 5-year period.
Is that 5-year period.
That 5-year period. Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that Grenadians that are living in the diaspora are feeling disenfranchised by them having to answer that question as to how long you live in here. Like if
But let me say this, let me say this for what it is worth. All right. We know that we all have persons living in the diaspora. Right? We all get remittances coming out from North America, from Europe, all over the place, and we welcome it. Okay, there are persons in the diaspora who work hard just to be able to come back and rebuild and to assist their parents or their relatives here. All right, okay. But at the end of the day, if the law says that, there's nothing that I can do. Okay, you know. It is what it is. Right now, we don't hold. The thing is that we have the responsibility to upkeep the law. We have responsibility to ensure that who needs to be on the list is on the list. Okay. So I basically try my best to just ascribe to what the law dictates. Okay, and to do the job to the best of my ability.
Right. And in the past when we heard of plane loads of people coming down to vote, was those just allegations?
Well, I don't even, Junior, I don't really want to comment on the plane loads because at the end of the day, we hear that not only from Grenada but from a number of the other Caribbean countries, all right? So I really and truly don't necessarily want to touch that, okay? But if persons are interested to be registered, you can go do research of the law for yourself, look at what it says. All right. If I'm interpreting the law the way that I figure I need to interpret it, that is what I try to ascribe to.
Okay. All right. Let's jump to that caller on the phone line. Call on the phone line. Call on the WhatsApp. Hold on. Call on the phone line. Go right ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. You're live.
Yes, hi. I'm just calling to find out something. I'm a little confused. Okay, so we all know, although Mr. Pierre is saying that, he doesn't want to comment on the plane load, but we all know for the past years gone by, there are a lot of people that's going to Grenada to vote, right? I'm hoping I'm saying this right. Did he say that you have to be living in Grenada for a year, that you have to register to vote? So if that's the case, I don't think there's anyone in America or out of Grenada that will stay a whole year in Grenada, leave their job, come to Grenada for a whole year, just to register and, be living there. So it's a little bit confusing to me. I don't know. Can you just explain a little, elaborate a little on that? Because it's not quite clear, because, there's a lot of people that have been living over here for a lot of years. They want to go back to vote, But then if you have to be living in Grenada for a whole year, how does that work?
Right.
And how does the people that have been coming, living abroad, going to Grenada for the past couple of years, does that mean that they have to clean out the registry or clean out whatever and start afresh? That's my question.
Thank you so much, caller.
Right. So let me let me go back to the law again. Right. We're talking about as a citizen of Grenada, or D is ordinarily resident in that constituency. All right. Ordinary resident. You must be, for you to get registered, you must be here to be registered.
What's the first
Now,
part?
I see a comment here.
Citizen of Grenada or
Ordinarily resident. It means that you are living here. You are people know that this is where you live.
But the first part is citizen of Grenada.
Citizen of Grenada.
And that
Right?
birthright cannot be moved, changed.
That cannot be moved. But there is something that disqualifies if you have been out for 5 consistent years.
So if
during
you're
that
out for
period,
5 consistent years, you're no longer a citizen as recognized by the board.
well, that's right. If you want to put it that way, okay. Now, I see a comment here, made by John Charles. There is something called enumeration. Within enumeration, persons would go from house to house, okay, from the electoral office, go from house to house to get persons, to sign persons up to be registered. If you are not there during that enumeration period, your name will be removed from the list. All right, that is what, and the law gives permission and gives leeway to that as well. All right, for the enumeration period, we are now doing continuous registration. We are in the process of continuous registration. So today, until the writ is written, the writ is issued by the Governor General, we are registering individuals. Okay, right. So they must have their documentation, and questions will be asked. Okay, and persons can be disqualified based on the documentation that they have, or rejected based on the documentation that they have, based on the questions that are answered. But you cannot be registered outside of Grenada. There's no way that you can be registered outside of Grenada. What we're saying is that you need to be here in Grenada to be registered.
They wants to know, when is the next enumeration?
For now, and this brings up another issue. So I'll just deal with this issue, but it has to be determined. We are procuring a new voter registration system. We have a voter registration system that is old. It has created some problems for us, and we have sent out tenders to be able to procure a new voter registration system. We have gone through the whole gamut of just trying to get that done. All right. We are considering, when that new voter registration starts, when we install that new voter registration system, that we do an enumeration. All right. We cannot do it within this period. All right. So most likely that will happen after the next general election. Because for this voter registration system, we would do what is referred to as a zero start, where all persons that have been registered will have to be re-registered. Okay, will have to be re-registered, so that you have a new system. Again, it follows the dictates of the law. All right, and we are going to ensure that persons get on the new system through re-registration. We cannot just transfer names, and so the biometrics and so will not facilitate that. So there will have to be a re-registration of individuals, and that will take place after the next general election.
Okay. Fast and Furious, we're going to take 2 more calls. We are already over the time. Caller on the phone line. Call on the WhatsApp, I see you, I'll take you next. Call on the phone line, go right ahead. Hello?
Is that me?
Yes, that's you.
Oh, I wasn't sure. All right. Listen, Junior, I'm sorry but I called earlier. So I got to call back, and I'll make it quick. I promise. But listen, so just listening to this whole thing, I don't really know Mr. Pierre or who he is or nothing like that, right? But just listening to this, as much as I've listened in this show today, I felt like Mr. Pierre seems to be not up to the task that he has at hand. There's there's way too much inconsistency, and if he is the one at the top in that position, and there's so much inconsistency coming from him, I can only imagine what's at the bottom. So, some way along the line, something has to be done about that position. Maybe we should probably hire Kim Jones to do that. He take his position or something. I hate to say it. The reason why I'm saying that is because I won't even get into it. But something needs to be done where Mr. Pierre is concerned. I'm sorry, Mr. Pierre, but it seems like you're not up to the task. Okay,
All right,
so
thank you, caller.
let's try to figure this out. Thank you.
All right, cool. No problem. And let's just take that other call on the WhatsApp. Caller on the WhatsApp, go right ahead, make it sort of brief because we about to wrap up. We over time already. Go right ahead, caller.
And that's on WhatsApp?
Yeah, call on the WhatsApp. Go right ahead. Turn your background.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it on right now.
Down a bit.
Yeah, what I want to say, first time I've seen or hear Mr. Pierre, seemed very calculating, and then the other thing, it very partisan. I may be wrong, because he answers some things and then some things he gets so wrong with this question. Because the fact about it, if a person is a born Grenadian, I don't see why they have to be asked how long you've been away or how long you're. This is not coming through immigration. This is, as a Grenadian, you have the right to vote. Because, Junior, you know, in America, in Canada, when it's election, people who live in foreign countries, they vote. Even in the country they're in, and it is sent in to the Canadian and US governments. But the thing I want to get to, Mr. Pierre diverted, didn't want to answer that. The fact about it is how all of a sudden now you have to be in the country for a year and all of these different things. As one lady said, take a year off your job. No. In 10 years ago, in the last two elections, not this one of 2022, the two previous elections, somebody mentioned it. I was approached to come to Grenada to vote, and it was going to be paid by that party at that time. A plane load from Toronto went down. I asked for my wife, I can't leave my wife. And said, oh, well, we'll figure out how she'll be paid for. And we didn't have to come down there a year before. You just have to get down there just before. In enough time that gives you that time in order to register. And many people went down. One guy was left down there a whole year after. Is when he started to go blind, he was brought back to Toronto. So I don't see the difference now. That's why I'm saying Mr. Pierre seemed to be partisan. And it was good 10 years ago. It was good in the last two elections, not including this one here. And it was paid. And I could tell you the constituency, but I wouldn't say it.
Okay, all right.
I wouldn't say the constituency, but I was asked, I was approached, and many other people, my nieces was approached, and cousins and other relatives.
Okay.
So now I cannot understand why it's so different right now. And that's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you, caller. Thanks for your input. We cannot say that we believe that Mr. Pierre is partisan. We have no evidence to back that up. We have not spoken for any political organization. So I have to disclaim this. That's the opinion of the individual and not necessarily that of Ride Along Live. You care to respond, Mr. Pierre?
Well, clearly, I am not in this job pushing partisan politics, right? I'm telling you, I'm not affiliated, okay? I have been a presiding officer for a number of years before I even got into this, and I, in no way, form, or fashion, what I'm saying tonight has anything to do with partisan politics. Right? I just want to make that explicitly clear. Explicitly clear. All right. So please refrain from associating me with any partisan politics. This is not my intention.
Okay. All right. In media reports, we heard that there were a surplus of new registered voters added to the list. Could you confirm or deny if there were a surplus of over 1,000 within recent days?
Yes. We have had, I don't have the actual figures in front of me, but we have had about 1,000 or so, or maybe a little bit more, 1,000 odd new registrants. Okay, new registrants. If I were to just give some just basic demographics, we have had persons that would have just turned 18, a number of young people. We would have had persons that were born in the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s that have just started, that have just registered. So we are getting an influx of persons registering. We have spoken to the political parties and asked persons, encourage persons to get registered. Okay. So we are seeing an increase in the number of persons being registered. Of course, what we are seeing too is, the political temperature, so to speak, as it relates to parties making, moves, to begin campaigning. So we are at the office. We are trying to get our machinery organized and well oiled, so that come next general election, we are prepared to roll this thing out.
We heard two reports. I also want you to speak to that briefly, that the opposition leader either met with, and you could correct me if I'm wrong with that, or spoke with someone or you at the office in regards to inconsistencies on the registration. Did you have such meeting where you interacted with the opposition leader in regards to those inconsistencies?
I have had a sit down with the leader of the opposition, but I can't recall having specific dialogue related to inconsistencies. We spoke about the voter registration system, what's happening as it relates to that, and I think that is basically the content of the conversation that we had.
Right, right. Are we seeing, or could you tell from the registration if the person is registered? Well, I know in the U.S. that you have you have registered Democrats or registered Republican, and you could kind of gauge as who is mobilizing who. Is there any
No,
way
no,
to
no.
gauge?
From the registration, these are just individuals, Grenadians, citizens that are registered, and they show all the documentation that would allow them to become eligible, that would give them eligibility to be registered, and that's as much as I can determine.
Okay. All right. All right. Listen, Mr. Pierre, we kept you way over time. We have an additional 40 minutes that we added to this conversation. Is there anything else that you want to clear up or speak to as it relates to the registration and voting
Right.
part?
So we will have further discussion, because I think that based on some of the things that I would have said tonight, there's still need. I feel the confusion in people's mind. All right. So we will have, and we will want to have further discussions on the eligibility of persons in the diaspora to vote. All right. I would make it my duty to ensure that, Junior, we may have to have another dialogue.
Absolutely, I'm open.
And if I am not qualified enough. Okay, maybe I should get somebody else to come along with me, to really explain and to aerate the issue so that persons will feel comfortable, and they would, do what law dictates, to get registered. My responsibility here is not to prevent anybody from being registered or from voting. That's not my responsibility. I'm happy when persons can be registered and can be registered to exercise their right as prescribed by the Constitution. Okay. Again, my intention is, all that I seek to do is to look at the law, okay, and look at who is being registered, how they are being registered, and what qualifies them to be registered or disqualifies them from registration, and do what I need to do to ensure that when they get on the list, they are eligible to be on that list. They have the right to be on that list. That is simply my responsibility. Okay, so if I'm doing it wrong, I have no problems in saying that I'm wrong. If I'm doing it right, I apologize for being right, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm here just to be a servant, and I'm trying to do that job to the best of my ability.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Arthur Pierre, and thanks for your time. And listen, we could do this anytime. I think it's important that we have this type of conversation, because I know that the office of the PR is vacant. I remember having
Yes,
this
yes,
conversation.
we do need a civic and voter registration officer, and we have sent out the tender, so to speak, for persons that are interested to come. So when they come, they will be in a hot seat, and we try to do this thing together as a family at the electoral office to ensure that the Grenadian public is well aware of what their rights are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that is one of the main reasons why we have not had this interaction, because I said during the last election, I remember having 2 or 3 conversations with that civic and registration officer that gave us information. And I know you sit there in that position, but we do need that interaction with the public so that we won't have so many concerns, so many questions that we
Yeah.
can get to all of them in one particular sitting. So we thank you so much, Mr. Pierre, and we'll have this discussion again. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you so much, and thank you for the questions and comments. And I look forward to having another engagement when that can happen.
Thanks again. Keep in touch.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, guys, I know that this was an extended version of this conversation. I want to thank Mr. Arthur Pierre. I think that what we need to do, and what we will do, is that we should have a lawyer on to basically break that law down for us. Because I am seeing that there are a lot of challenges, or there could be a lot of challenges to the voter registration process. Because I don't believe that someone should lose their citizenship. And probably the law says it there. Laws are based on interpretation, and the court interprets the law. So it might be written, right? It might be written in a way that a layman's, meaning, I'm saying that he doesn't understand or knows, but a layman may not be able to interpret the true core meaning of it. But when challenged and brought in front of a court, then they could interpret the true meaning, because I don't believe that any person should lose their birthright. And their birthright is the ability to vote. That's one thing. I believe that is in your DNA. You were born in a country. Nobody could take that away. No one should take that away from you. And if that is written in law or in the Constitution, that could be taken away from you, there should be amendments. Laws get amended all the time. Or it could be based on interpretation. I believe that it is how I understand it, right? Based on, again, my layman's perspective. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just listening. And how I interpret it is that you have part one that says a person, not a not U.S. citizen, a Grenadian citizen, or, and it lists out the list of other options, the or, right? I think that gives prioritization to the Grenadian citizen. Now, the process is another thing that we're gonna get interpreted. So I think that we need a lot more conversation, possibly with a legal expert, to dive deeper into these laws. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of our program tonight, guys. We kept you a little bit over time, but that's why I love Ride Along. You guys are very patient, and you sat there. You kept your phone on do not disturb for all this time, even if we were over time. Appreciate that. Before we go on a commercial break, I got to tell you quickly, guys, that we officially launch Amazing the Experience. Yeah, Amazing the Experience. This is our Monday Night Mass experience package, right? Our Monday Night Mass package has officially been released. I know we've been teasing it for a while, but now it's here now. These are packages for Ride, Amazing Colors, Amazing the Experience. Now let me show you guys really quickly how you obtain your package. We are only doing 300 packages. That's it. 300. Let me go to the website. Right, so we're only doing 300 packages. So if you want to register, you go to ride.gd. That's ride.gd. That's the website right there, ride.gd. See your Monday Night Mass package. You could click that link. Once you go to that link, what you do is you scroll down. Now you have all the packages. We have a few more to add, but you have at least all the initial set of packages. And you click on the one you want. So if you want to do the t-shirt packages, you view more option right here. You could add how much you want. You want a friend, you do 2, add to cart, and you click. I don't want this one. That's another one I chose. So you have 2 packages and you check out. Checking out is fast and easy. Credit card information here, and you are done. So it's a doozy. Registering for Amazing Colors, and that's going to be on Ecstasy, the boat. Okay? So get your packages early, get it quickly, don't stick. For those of you asking for information as to where you could get it, let me tell you right here. Click that link right there. Yeah, that link right there. That link right there that just showed up. Click that link. Let me put it on the side. Why did I put it on the side? Anyway, click that link and get your package tonight. Because tomorrow you don't know. We might be sold out by tomorrow. And we just in June, just going into July. Get your packages right now for Amazing the Experience. And you get more than just your outfits and your great experience. We have so much things. Just read the information on the website. You see what I'm talking about. Amazing the Experience. Monday Night Mass. Get your packages tonight. Don't stick. All right? We'll be right back.
Calling the CARICOM community, assembling Global Africa, the 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum. Active 2025 is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, Resilience and Transformation, enhancing Africa-Caribbean economic cooperation in an era of global uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
Are you a progressive young leader, a proactive emerging executive, a rising professional? Then you need appropriate cover for your vehicle. Introducing the Pro Motor Plan from Beacon. Car insurance that includes free loss of use, windscreen cover up to $3,500, free special perils, free accident forgiveness. Get Beacon's Pro Motor Plan today. Don't procrastinate. Call Beacon today at 440-4447 or visit beacongrenada.com.
Hi, I want $10 on Playway, $20 backup on Pick 3, and cash for each, please.
Okay, are you adding multi-X to your bet?
Yes, multi-X, all of them.
Smart! Best value bet. Backup and multi-X. You cannot go wrong.
Don't matter the bet, multi-X all of the daily games.
With multi-X added, your winnings can be multiplied 3 times, 5 times, even 7 times. So make it a rule. Add multi-X to all your Playway, daily pick 3, and daily cash for bets every day and for every drop, and watch your money grow. Available at stores and online.
You heard it here. Multiply your winnings daily. Must be 18 or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Looking for the ultimate island experience? Hop on the Ride Tuk Tuk Rum Punch Tour and explore Grenada like never before. Feel the tropical breeze, sip on authentic Caribbean rum punch, and cruise through Grenada's stunning scenery in our unique and fun tuk-tuks. It's the perfect blend of adventure and island flavor. Book your unforgettable tour now at ride.gd or call 473-422-1011. Don't just see Grenada, experience it with Ride Tuk Tuk Rum Punch Tours today.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you again for watching. Thanks for being a part of our program tonight. And I see comments on Facebook already. This is going to be a conversation for a good couple of days, guys. I'm watching. Thanks for being a part of our rider community, guys. I spent the day driving around. I was in Tuk Tuk today. I'm loving doing tours. I was on tours today, so I know some of you guys saw me. I hailed you up a bit. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate everyone who patronized our service. Good night, and good night. Catch you guys again tomorrow.
Energy high, heart so bright. Tune in, feel the light. Global love taking flight. Every ride, a sheer delight. Making waves across the seas. Love and joy in the breeze. Ride along live if you please. Bringing hope with such ease. Ride along, join the dance, let's sing the song. From island to island strong, with the host we belong.